everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. This is Gianni DePoci, your host. It is the 22nd of November, 2023, and it's Wednesday, so it's time to review what markets have been up to, as well as the Cosmos. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We can start off by looking at the Dow Jones. We began the last few trading sessions with a trine signature between Mars and Neptune, as well as the Sun and Neptune. That was back on the 17th, which was last week. And then over the weekend, we had Sun conjunct Mars, and, a pretty aggressive rally, if I do say so myself, on the first trading day following that aspect. And then tomorrow, markets will be closed in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States. We then have Sun square Saturn. And then on the 24th, Mars will leave Scorpio finally and ingress into the sign of Sagittarius. And then we will have Mars square Saturn on the 25th, which is the Saturday. So stocks continue to rise. We are in a critical reversal date period right now. We are a little extended in the newer term. So I think from a technical standpoint, it would be pretty healthy to see at least a pause in this rally or even a corrective pullback. But let's go ahead and jump over to the NASDAQ, because what we have seen this year or this past week is the NASDAQ futures made a new high for the year. The cash NASDAQ, which is what we're looking at here, has not made a new high for the year. So we do have some intermarket bearish divergence, and this does suggest some caution in the near term. But I don't think it changes the bigger picture. That is that we are in a new intermediate term cycle, as we've been talking about in the weekly reports and the monthly reports. These have been scenarios that we've been entertaining for the last couple of weeks, and does portend, a bullish outlook. So it seems going into the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction of April 2024. But after that, we'll have to see what happens. We do have the start. Well, we'll have the first two of three square passages between Jupiter and Saturn that will begin in August next year. And, that could lead to some significant changes in monetary policy. We did start to see some rate decision expectations shift with respect to the Fed. We had the FOMC minutes come out yesterday. There was no real comments from the Federal Reserve about any plans to cut rates, but I maintain the position that the whole higher for longer thesis that they're talking about, this narrative, is the new transitory inflation. So the weight of the evidence does support the notion that the Fed will be cutting rates next year, and I think the market is starting to discount that. We can go ahead and jump over to TLT. I want to look at some ETFs here. And this is the long-term Treasury bond ETF. We did just publish the monthly ETF report. You can check that out at www.mmacycles.com. And we do analyze this long-term Treasury ETF. And, signs continue to point toward the idea that we could be in a new 6-year cycle in bonds. And so if that's the case, I would expect the Fed to cut next year, because what we're seeing now is the curve inverting again, the yield curve. You've probably seen and heard various reports and news articles about the yield curve being inverted. It almost flattened out and almost returned back to the zero bound. But with the price action that we've seen in long-term treasuries as of late, it started to invert again. So that's why I think the Fed's probably going to be cutting in the next 6 months, and something to keep an eye on for sure. Looking ahead in the couple weeks from now, we do have Neptune going direct, stationary direct, on the 6th of December. That's going to be important because that has a lot to do with inflation expectations. We've seen crude oil prices come down quite a bit. Let's take a look at USO here, and you see that big down day here today on Wednesday, and the primary cycle has turned bearish on this. And, between Neptune going stationary direct next month, as well as Jupiter going stationary direct on the 30th of December, I think we're seeing a big shift in inflation expectations, and it's coming down. Now, I do think it's temporary, but this should be a big tailwind for real estate as well. The fact that real estate prices did not collapse this year is a good sign with respect to their long-term trend. And I think that's really a testament to Saturn being in Pisces. Saturn rules real estate. Pisces can be confusion. There's been a lot of confusion in the real estate space, people expecting prices to come down when they just have not. They've pretty much gone sideways, and we've seen much more activity in the new home market compared to the existing home market. But if rates come back down, especially long-term rates, I think you could see a sense of FOMO, or fear of missing out, by a swath of the population that feels that, hey, we didn't get in on these low mortgage rates. Let's get in, at 5-6% if we can. So yeah, I think crude oil coming down is bullish for the market overall. But as we get into the time band for a primary cycle low in December, I'm curious to see how this will react to Jupiter and Neptune changing directions in the next month or so. Let's jump over to GDX, which is the gold mining ETF. So we had a really nice rally yesterday, but we are fading a little bit here. It's going to be interesting to see now that that Mars is leaving Scorpio. We don't have that geocosmic tailwind in the metals market anymore. So a lot of times you see a notable high form while Mars is in Scorpio. The rally, the low usually starts or occurs when Mars is in Libra, but then you see the big acceleration in the rally, which is what we saw in this period here when Mars is in Scorpio. But since then, it's been choppy. There is still, the cycle that supports higher prices, but I think it's going to be, spending some time digesting here its gains, and that is constructive overall. And I don't think it really changes the big picture. That is that gold could actually have a pretty nice start to next year. So we'll keep an eye on that from a geocosmic standpoint as well, especially in, with Mars going into Sagittarius. I don't think, even though there seems to be a truce, a temporary truce in the Middle East right now. This is something we actually talked about in the ETF report, which was sent out today. I just wrote it, so it's all fresh in my mind. But we were looking for a culmination of some sort of events during this intense geocosmic period that we've been in. But now with Mars going into Sagittarius, do we get another inflammation of exaggerated rhetoric with respect to the geopolitical situation, especially with Mars squaring Saturn over the weekend? So let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin continues to consolidate near the highs. This is bullish price action. The degree of its bullishness is ultimately contingent on whether it's completed a new major cycle or not. But there is still more time for new highs to unfold. And the question is do we form the high closer to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction next year, or the low? It could even be both, but right now the posturing is still bullish, and we're looking for a rally into the low to mid $40,000 area at least. Last market I want to look at is the euro, because this could be a very important high of significance here, and it would have occurred via a lower high with respect to the longer term trend. So this is an important market to watch right now, because stocks have done so well with the dollar pulling back, but now can stocks handle an appreciating dollar? So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. And there's not any major Venus signatures coming up in the next week or so. So this could have been, the high associated with this reversal zone right now. So that's all that I had to review with you today. Thank you so much for spending some time to watch our YouTube channel here at MMA. You can find all of our reports and courses and content at www.mmacycles.com. Remember, the forecast book was just completed, actually, so it's going to be going to the printers here at any moment, and I would strongly encourage you to check it out to see what we're looking at with respect to the geocosmics and financial markets in the year ahead. So www.mmacycles.com. We will see you same time, same place next week.